This might be useful.
Hey, what's up guys? In this one, I'm bringing you Snake Eyes helmet. Let's get to it. Alright, so as I always mention, typically I slice my helmets, and as you can see for this helmet, it's pretty simple. Right along the jawline, I just made a basic cut right there, and then printed the two pieces out on one. I did the bowl method, so that just means I printed this helmet upside down and printed it as a bowl. So when you do that, of course, you're going to get this wear and tear here. But guess what? Luckily, I have my palm sander. So if you've seen how I remade my Batman helmet, you see I just added the palm sander to my arsenal. So that's going to make knocking this down a lot easier. Now I do have other methods before I had the palm sander. You can check out my other video, how to sand rough PLA prints, where I basically go over little techniques that I use just to knock all that crust down and get it all down to looking like one piece. As far as the visor I didn't have to slice, it just came out in one piece itself. But I did put some supports between each of these, just because I didn't want any failures to happen. And as you can imagine, getting those supports out were quite a pain in the neck. I got everything out, literally these top two rows, this bottom row, I was like right here as far as like taking it out. And then of course you get like a little impatient, you just want to finish and it snapped. So I had to solder that back together, patch that in. Good as new. Kind of bothered me at first, but then I remembered, like, this is what I do. I kind of like bring things together. So I was like, I know how to fix it. It's not going to take long. And then this is what it looks like fully assembled. Now, besides the helmet and the visor, they do give you small little like greebles to put inside here. But I'm not going to do that because I still want to see out of this helmet. So as always, I'm going to put some type of tint behind these, spray paint the visor itself black, and then put some kind of tint within the visor so that way I can still see out of it. Now, cool trick that I used, they do give you a pin, a male and a female version. For myself, printing that would have took me like literally 26 minutes. But instead of using filament, I already have like these basic supports that I had, and they fit. So obviously I'm not going to have this side sticking out. I'm going to flip it and put this side in, and then basically solder this to the helmet, and then cut whatever I need that's like sticking out. So just get creative sometime. Again, I can print those out in 26 minutes and have those may look a little better, but hey, why not try something out? Try something different. All right, so pretty much the same thing that I mentioned in my Princess Shuri build. This mesh here, I don't have to sand, which is great. That would mess up the detail big time. There's no like layer lines or anything that would make me want to sand that anyway. It all looks good. The bottom of the jaw came out the best. Those little layer lines there, it was just like a little bit of sanding with the 180 grit sandpaper, and I basically got everything down. I really got to get this cinematic mode down because I hate how it loses focus like that. And on the helmet, for some reason, after the cut, this piece here just felt really, really weak. I'm not sure if like the process of the print at that section just wasn't a lot of infill. But yeah, I had to reinforce that. So I put some bondo on the outside, and hidden behind that bondo, you could probably see like a little bit of the black. But I just used like a little bit of raft, basically like that, to support it, because I do not want this to break. So I just did that on both sides, just a nice little reinforcement. On the inside, you won't see it, so I'm not going to really do much to that. And on the outside, I just cured it a little there. When I was talking about the visor a little earlier, one thing that I didn't mention, After taking those supports out, what I basically did to knock some of those like little hairs down from the supports, I just used my soldering iron, got it nice and hot, and then just like laid it down on these and just went across it. So basically like a wanding kind of back and forth, just to make my life a million times easier. Now another tip a lot of you guys may not know is that your nail filer, if you have like a nail filer, that's something that you can get in between there and basically sand it like that. Nail filers are basically sandpaper. So that's a cool tip there for you guys. Now I'm going to take this outside and prime it all down so that way I can see the nitty gritty that I'm going to have to do. Let's get to it.
Artlist.io.
Okay, so everything is primed down. From here now, I'm just going to focus on bondo on this spot here, which you could technically skip. I only say that because the visor is going to be there, but I'm not going to do that. Got to knock out everything. And then here on the visor, they were just like a couple of layer shifts. Now I was thinking of making that more like a battle damage, but I just want this to come out like a nice reflective gloss black. The helmet's going to be a flat black, like a matte black, and then this here is going to be nice and glossy. Now I am thinking about putting some of my window tint in there. We'll get into that a little later, but with the gloss black, I think that will do good as long as you can't like see what's inside and see my face. If I can see my face, then I'm going to put some window tint in there. That'll be a little later on. So now I'm just going to bondo these two, sand it down a little, and then weld the two together, and then the mesh and the helmet, bring those two parts together, and then we should be all good for paint. Okay, so what you see with that technique, after I always just use a little bondo, and as I mentioned before, when I do the insides, I get a lot tougher. Obviously, because on the outside, I don't want to make like a whole bunch of holes and gaps, but basically what I do is with my soldering iron, there are many different soldering irons that you can get, but it's good to have one that you can like pretty much control the temperature with, because you don't want to have one that you just like turn on and it's on max settings and it just melts through everything. So being able to control how hot that you get it is what's going to be able to control like how the plastic reacts. Again, too hot and you're going to be melting everything around it. Too cold, nothing's going to stick. You want just like that porridge, you want it just right in the middle, so that way not only does it bond together, but it makes like a nice flat even surface. As you've seen through the video, what I was basically doing was putting the raft within inside the hole, and a lot of the raft was still like sticking up. So I would use like the thick part of the soldering iron to pretty much bring it down to height. And then once I got it down to height, I would just like work it in from there. And that does a good job itself of hiding everything. But I like to add the bondo just in case, like there's always gonna be like a small little hole, a small little dent when you're doing this. Again, this is the primer stage, rinse and repeat. So I just did that a little bit better. And you're probably like, what the hell is that? Again, the visor is gonna be there. So instead of wasting bondo, I'm running a little low on bondo. I'm just not gonna do that part because again, the visor is gonna be right over all of that. This line though, you would see. So I definitely had to take care of that as well as the top. But again, it's just a quick, not quick, but it's just a little solution when you're welding two pieces together of how to do that. I did make another video that shows a different process. If you check out my Halo, I'll link that here. My Halo helmet, you'll see that there's a big gap. And basically I had to fill that gap from the helmet. With that, I use, same thing, I use a raft, my soldering iron, and some bondo. But it's just another look on how to, maybe if you have like a failed print, how you can save it if it's not a lot, if it's not an area with a lot of details, so on and so forth. But this is what I use. This is my method of how I get my helmets that are two pieces to come to one. Again, just a little bit of the raft that I use, which is why I sometimes print rafts as well, because you never know, that stuff comes in handy. Just like on the inside of the helmet, being able to use that to make sure that everything sticks. So again, just getting the raft within the middle of the print, of the two prints. Again, before bringing these two together, I sanded the bottom half and I sanded the top half where they're going to connect. So sand those two parts so that way there are no lumps from the raft or from filament. Put the raft in between and just steadily work it in there. After you're done with that, just a little bondo. As you can see, that looks a zillion, bajillion, kazillion times better. Do you remember being a little kid making up those words? It's a bajillion. But yeah, so now I sanded it. Again, the big difference maker, if you haven't seen my other videos, it's gonna be wet and dry sandpaper. Just listen, just listen. Come close, come close. Baby's bottom. That really helps with the bondo. Helps with everything. So now I'm about to take this out for its next coat of primer. And the good thing about this stage is, yes, you kind of got to go back and forth, sand and prime, but for most of the helmets like this, it's just flat black. Just like my Black Panther helmet, it was just black. So when I do helmets like these, I make sure to take as much time as possible in this stage, so that way I can get the best result. So even the visor came out good. And now we just gotta spray it all black. Again, this is gonna be glossy black, so I'm gonna get this really, really reflective. And then this is gonna be more of a flat black. I'll show you guys the other side. Here we go. Check it out. Now we add the window tint to the visor. Never, never, never. How many of you guys have seen that guy's TikTok? If you know, you know. All right, that's a wrap for this one. As always, guys, I hope you enjoyed hanging out. If you like this video, let me know. Hit the like button down below. Leave a comment if there's something that you see I haven't made and you want to see me make it. I'm always up for a new challenge. And then share this video because you never know who this video can inspire. As always, guys, it's BZ Comics. I'm out. What should I do next? The world may never know. What should I do next? Just gotta hit the subscribe button to figure it out.